warm welcome to Bharata First. You're watching Big Picture with me, Pereira. First, let me inform you about Bharata First Knowledge Center, an initiative that will help each one of you and transform the way you learn. We have started international relations and art and culture classes, and they've had a phenomenal response. All those who have been a part of the Knowledge Center have had a great time. You too can be a part of this journey. Go to our website, kc.bharatafirst.com for more details and register now. We will offer you the limited period early bird discounts only for a few more days. Bharata First Knowledge Center will change the way you learn. It's like something you've never experienced. Be a part of this incredible journey. Today, register now at kc.bharatafirst.com. Since you're here, I would like to thank you for your continued support. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then all notifications. Do subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs a daily Big Picture quiz. Please participate by going through the description in Big Picture videos. Here are the UPI IDs for those of you who would like to come forward and make a contribution. A small contribution that you make will be a giant leap for us to keep bringing you this content. We are also considering ads and sponsorships. You can reach us at marketing@bharatafirst.com. All this information, along with some must-see recommendations, are in the description of the video. Please go through it. And now, on to the discussion. The Delhi High Court on Thursday said that the central government was free to initiate action against Twitter in accordance with the IT rules in case it had breached them. It also questioned Twitter for referring to the officers required to be appointed in compliance of IT rules as interim. Justice Rekha Palli granted 2 weeks' time to Twitter to file hard copies of the notarized affidavit of a competent officer while hearing a petition alleging non-compliance of the rules. However, the court said that the scanned copy of the affidavit will be filed by July 13th. It also said that the affidavit should be accompanied by the affidavit of the officer already stated to have been appointed and the persons who are being appointed. In this edition of Big Picture, we will analyze the Delhi High Court's observation on the Twitter controversy. Joining me on the program today are Subimal Bhattacharjee, cyber security analyst, and PK Malhotra, former law secretary, Government of India. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on this edition of Big Picture. Mr. Malhotra, let me start the program with you first. There's been a lot of back and forth with regards to Twitter, with the Government of India, and now the courts also finally stepping in. How do you look at this entire issue?
You see, we are a country which is governed by the rule of law. Howsoever powerful and howsoever mighty you may be, law is above you. So that Twitter saying that its company policies need to be realigned or changed, or probably their bosses sitting in the United States are looking into have been made by the Government of India and the rules are not in accordance with the policy, is no defense available to them. Business in this country, in India, and want to earn money out of that business, then it has got no option but to follow the rules which have been made by the Government of India for doing its business in the country. Under these rules, they are supposed to appoint a chief compliance officer in the country. They must have a resident officer who can deal with the grievances of the individuals here, and there must be a nodal locally who can be approached, and they must have a local address also where people can approach and lodge their grievances, and they are not complying with these requirements. I think law of the country is above everything else and they are supposed to follow it. Exemption is given to them under section 79 of the Act that no action can be taken against the intermediary with regard to the contents passing through that unless his involvement is there. Now, in this particular case, in case the Twitter has been asked to delete certain areas where the messages are objectionable, then it has got a remedy under the law as to how to approach it. But it cannot say that I will not follow the government guidelines or the government instructions. So, but if they have got any grievance against the rule, it's not that the remedy is not available to them. They can first discuss at the government platform. They can go to the government, tell the government, these are the rules which are not strictly in accordance with the provision of the Act or as per the Constitution. government will review those provisions and can amend the rules. And if the government is not hearing them, then obviously they have got a remedy going before the court and telling them that these rules are not in accordance with the provision of the Act or in accordance with the Constitution. So if you want to do business in the country, please see that the rules are followed. And in that connection, the direction given by Delhi High Court that you have to follow the rules in case you want to do business. In case you have an objection, obviously the court will look into those rules. But they have not challenged the rules, to my understanding. It is a petition filed by somebody else, which is under consideration of the High Court. In that, of course, the question of challenging the rule is also before the court.
Absolutely. So, Subimal, let me bring you in now. Let's talk about this aspect as well. As far as Twitter is concerned, simple rules need to be followed, but somehow it seems like an act of defiance more than anything else. That's how at least I understand it. How do you look at it?
Well, you have stolen my word. I've been using the word defiance for quite some time, and clearly the three officers that were sought, as Mr. Malhotra has just mentioned, the three officers that needed to be appointed by Twitter in the country, when they got 3 months' time, and they cannot, appoint in a country where so many technology-related people are there, people with a base of law and technology. It's very surprising, that it is more of a defiant position than anything else, because at the end of the day, the rule of the law is supreme. Wherever they go, they have to follow the rules of the law. The IT Act has been there for a long time. The intermediary guidelines rules have also been there from 2011, except that the new rules that were notified on February 25 this year expanded the scope and actually practically took care of a lot of emanating situation over all this, over all these years, where people are using social media platforms for doing a lot of things that become challenging from a law and order perspective. Solutions in 92, for example, maintaining law and public order, the sovereignty of the nation, the relationship with foreign countries. So all of these are the yardsticks on which even these rules have been premised. But leaving aside, that part, the question with Twitter was that, they decided in appointing three specific officers, even when, they initially, after those three letters from the government were sent, when they appointed farms. And it is very clear in the guidelines that you have to appoint Indians. It's a different matter again that, they appointed someone as a compliance officer who left in some time, but clearly in their part, right from the beginning, they were thinking that they can get away without following, or they would have thought, that they'll ask for some extension or whatever like that. These things don't apply, when others have followed it. And even if you have any grievance, you have to follow this, and then later you have the redressal, as Mr. Malhotra just mentioned. So I am absolutely sure that this was more of an act of defiance. And even if you link it to the situation that has been there with Twitter for some months, as far as they aren't a very, very, I would say, a transparent scenario that the platform can boast of. Forget only the manipulated media tag to Sandeep Patra's tweet, or even to the point that Jack Dorsey around the farmers' agitation, took a position and all. So if you are taking the advantage under Section 79 of the IT Act, then you are bound to be an intermediary, to have no role in the inception of a content, no role in the transmission, no role in the reception. But if you are trying to fiddle and trying to qualify whatever is going through, then definitely you become a publisher and you cannot get the savable process. But this has also been going on for some time. And I think, all of this taken together, unfortunate incident of Delhi police going to their office, everything taken together has gone to a scenario where this is a kind of an eyesore. But all said and done, nothing of that thing or nothing of all those things that have happened should have a bearing on the rules which are notified under the IT Act and which have to be followed by any entity, whether it is foreign or Indian, when it operates on the Indian soil. After all, this is a sovereign country and the parliament has full authority to devise laws of the country. Their terms and conditions and what they think in US never takes precedence over whatever laws and rules that we enact in this country. So that
Right.
I
Absolutely. So, Mr. Malhotra, let's broaden the scope of the discussion and bring in the government of India as well. Now, does this give a free hand to the government of India because the rules are in place, the laws are in place, and the government also, and the court has also said what it has to say? Does this now give the government of India a free hand to go after defiant entities like Twitter?
Frank, I would like to answer it in this way. You see, it's not that even today also government cannot take action against them because they have violated the rule, which is, as clear as sky. Why government is not taking? Because you see, social media has become a very, very important platform for communication among the individuals, and large number of people are using social media for communicating and exchanging their views. Probably government is playing little soft. It's not that it can't take an action. It is playing soft because they don't want a powerful social media which is prevalent there, or a platform which is available to be in individuals. If government wants, government can immediately take the action. There is no doubt about it. But its consequences are also to be seen because, as I said, we have rule of law, we have a democratic country, and since the validity of the rules itself is also under challenge before the court of law, so the government is taking a little lenient view so far as the social media platform is concerned because of the large user base and the people not being deprived of the benefit which they are having for use of this social media. So far as the law is concerned, till the time law is on the statute book, they are supposed to follow it. I'm reminded of the recent speech given by the Chief Justice of India in PD Memorial Lecture. You may make a law which is not strictly in accordance with the provision of constitution, but still it is a law. That is a rule by law. This is what has been said. But rule of law means a law which is for the benefit of the common man and which take into aspect the larger public interest. That is also to be seen. It is ultimately for the court to decide whether the rule are constitutionally valid or not.
Absolutely, Mr. Malhotra, very rightly said. Coming back to you, Subimal, let's talk about another aspect as well, because it's not just one entity. There are other entities which have different kinds of problems. There's WhatsApp with encryption. There's so many other countries that somehow seem to be dragging their feet when it comes to Indian laws. What is the best option in such a kind of a scenario?
Frank, I believe that the government has to engage, and the government is engaging. Even in the case of Twitter, government was well within its right to take the platform off on the 26th of May itself. But even if you see, there were 3 letters written even after that particular. There is a larger public interest here. So there is a benefit. Government realizes it. Government is giving them an opportunity. And here, again, if I touch on Twitter, compared to the other platform, which have, by the way, complied to this, appointment of these particular officers are concerned. But where in the world, Twitter would think that they can get away without appointing that, so that is something that I think they have a serious question they have to answer internally, within the terms of responding to a sovereign nation's, law. other platforms, and I've seen the IT minister have mentioned about how Google and Facebook have complied and how Twitter has not complied. So I think there is a clear understanding within the ministry itself as well as the government that other platforms are following it and all. But then WhatsApp also has its issue. It has gone to the Delhi High Court about another provision within those same guidelines. So I think that complied with the basic stuff. They had an issue around technology, and they have raised their point about that if they have to do, and mind you, they are the largest platform as far as those messaging is concerned. They have a point. They have gone to the court. I think this is very fair enough. The court has to take a call. It might be it's a very interesting scenario that the encryption, the open signal protocol that WhatsApp has employed since 2014. And even our justice, I mean to say the IIT professor Kamakoti from Madras High Court in the Madras High Court about how you could possibly follow a message. But the larger point is available without breaking the encryption, and which again comes around the definition of privacy as a fundamental right, which is Kuttuswamy versus Government of India case 4 years back. This is something that will intellectual as well as I would say very quality discussions and all about how much technology has reached, how much laws can encapsulate that, and whether practically it is feasible to do all of that activity that has to be, because the government has a point. The government needs to look at a lot of messages, because the possibility of many of this messaging fomenting trouble from a law and order perspective, from a national security perspective, they are always there. In the past, there have been instances where you have seen that how the social media platform, the same ones, always drag their feet and nothing came in time. And today, when you do the investigation on digital footprints, and unless around a real-time basis you are able to get the support from these entities, you might actually lose the track.
Right.
So all of these things are something that I personally feel that there has to be a far much more discussion and deliberations with the government from this platform, because after all, these platforms are investing in some of the best minds in the world, and it's not a stagnant technology. It is growing, but it is developing. So they have the thoughts. The government itself has in its kitty many of the technical minds, MIT department as well as these organizations, whether it is NIC, CERT and everything. So I think all of them should collectively take this, because this is the highest number of users for both WhatsApp, both Facebook, Twitter, all of that, and it's going to grow. We are pushing digital India, so we have to find a solution instead of the adversarial scenario that we are going to.
Absolutely. And since we are here, let's get closing comments from both my panelists with the best way forward, starting first with you, Mr. Malhotra.
See, technology is changing too fast. Changes which are coming in the technology. I think the law cannot keep pace with the changing technology, and law cannot be changed that frequently. Therefore, the laws are so worded so that the law enforcing agency gets power to take care of the changing situation and the objective for which the law is made. Talked about the freedom of speech and expression as well as the right to privacy. Yes, these fundamental rights are to be, and our courts jealously protect these rights of the individual. But mind it, no right is absolute. Every right comes with a reasonable restriction. Even right to privacy is also not right without limitations. So when you are talking of encrypted messages and all that, you see, it's not that under the rules, Government of India is asking that you put everything in the public domain. It is when some crime is being investigated or some violation of law has taken place, only in those cases the government will invoke these rules and will ask the social media platform to share the information with the government so that the crime can be investigated. And I think there is nothing wrong in that. In case there is something in the rules which need to be negotiated, probably all the social media platforms are open to come before the government and discuss with the government, and government will be much more than willing to listen to. In case any changes are required, obviously the government will make those changes. I think with that, it is the responsibility of the social media platform, transparency which government is looking for, and at the same time they must follow the rule of law of the country where they want to operate. Shankar Prasad, the minister, when the tweeters blocked his Twitter account for 1 hour on the United States. If they can follow the rules of United States, why can't they follow the rules which are framed by the government of India? I think that's an important question media platform must take into consideration.
Absolutely. And Subimal, close the show for us with your quick concluding remarks.
Yeah, Frank, I think it's very clear that the rules or the rule of law is something that has to be sacrosanctly followed. After all, it's a question of a sovereign country taking a call with the huge I would say engagement of every corner in trying to come up with the scenario. There will be issues, there are redressal mechanisms, there are courts. So I think those institutions are very well equipped today to look at these issues. I think there is a responsibility around all these social media entities and to be equally applying their standards to every geography or every country. I think these things are something that has to be followed. You see, the more and more people will get into the bandwagon, more and more opportunities will. So I think unless they try and understand and correct their steps, I think they will face more difficulty, and in the process all the users that they have subject them also to difficulty. There's no point in trying to lose the advantage that they have today of making available this platform for such wide social interaction in this country.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. Well, what's coming out of this discussion is that Twitter is clearly in the wrong and has not abided by Indian laws. The government has been magnanimous, given the social media giant the long end of the rope. It's time for Twitter to act now and abide by the rule of the land. Else, it's going to be a long and rocky road ahead. The courts too have rolled against Twitter, giving the government a shot in the arm. The sooner Twitter understands the trouble it is in, the better. Otherwise, it stands to lose a huge market. Well, before I go, let me once again inform you about Bharata First Knowledge Center, an initiative that will help each one of you and transform the way you learn. We have started international relations and Indian art and culture classes, and they have had a phenomenal response. All those who have been a part of the Knowledge Center have had a great time. You too can be a part of this journey. Go to our website, kc.bharatafirst.com for more details and register now. We will offer you the limited period early bird discounts only for a few more days. Bharata First Knowledge Center will change the way you learn. It's like something you've never experienced. Be a part of this incredible journey today. Register now at kc.bharatafirst.com. Now, since you're here, I would like to thank you for your continued support. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then all notifications. Do subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs a daily Big Picture quiz. Please participate by going through the description in Big Picture videos. Here are the UPI IDs for those of you who would like to come forward and contribute. A small contribution that you make will be a giant leap for us to keep bringing you this content. We are also considering ads and sponsorships. You can reach us at marketing@bharatafirst.com. All this information, along with some must-see recommendations, are in the description of the video. Please go through it. That's it from me. See you again next time.